Hi, I'm Barbara Thomas, a realtor with John Ray Realty, and we're back today at North Delta Title with Amy Sawyer and Larry Mullins. Today we want to talk a little bit about what's expected of the seller. Tell me, Amy, when a seller comes for a closing, what do they need to bring with them?
Primarily they need to bring their driver's license so that we can make a copy of it for the file. And then if they have to bring any funds to closing, they would need to bring that. But generally their role is minimal in the transaction. They sign the deed and a few other documents, and then they're free to leave after that once we give them their funds. The most important thing would be for their role would be before we get to the closing table. If they have any mortgages or loans on the property, we'll need to obtain their payoffs for that so that we can make the appropriate payment and clear the title.
Okay. Well, tell me, how will they take care of their taxes for that year?
The taxes on the settlement statement are prorated for the seller and the buyer. So if the buyer closed it, say the closing date is February 15th, the taxes will be estimated based on the previous year, and they will be taken, their portion from January 1st to February 15th would be taken out of their proceeds, and this buyer would be given a credit. So that at the end of the year, when the buyer receives the tax bill, they would receive the full year, but they would be made whole because the seller's portion would have been given to them at closing.
Now, what if the buyer does get the tax bill and they panic because they don't know what to do with it? What should they do with it?
If we've closed the loan here, on the settlement statement will be a breakdown of that pro rata credits. It'll be a deduction from the seller and a credit to the buyer. So the buyer's lender would have that money held in escrow. So the tax bill for that year would go to the buyer and the buyer's lender. Now I'm going to tell you a problem that we see occasionally. Somebody's house may be assessed at a lower value for a long period of time. Most property in Ouachita Parish or in Louisiana is supposed to be reassessed every 4 years. Sometimes they don't do that. So somebody may, let's say, live in a $100,000 house and it may be assessed at $50,000. And then when it comes to the closing table, they sell it for $125,000 and we prorate taxes, and they're shocked. Well, I've been paying $100 a year in taxes and they're $400. And the tax assessor normally will go with the sales price to figure their taxes for that year. The earlier in the year you close, the more likely they're going to use that price to come up with the tax value. If you close later in the year, you're probably lucky again because they hadn't picked up that new sales price, and you may be taxed at the original value. So that's kind of unique, and every case is different. We are going to figure that and disclose that to the parties so there are no surprises. And we, just like today, we will do our best to answer that question and make sure the seller, if there's a lot of tax deduction, understands that.
Tell me a little bit about the importance of signing up for the homestead exemption.
Well, that's extremely important because it's, as I say, tell everybody it's $75,000 free. That's pretty good. Well, it is an exemption of $75,000, and you just apply for it. It doesn't cost you anything. You do have to live in the home, and that $75,000, once you apply for it, and you're immediately approved by showing the tax assessor the recorded deed. So no matter what value your house is, you get $75,000 off the tax base.
So you sure want to go to the courthouse, don't you?
You buy a $75,000 house, you don't pay any taxes.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
That is good. One last thing I want to ask you, what about just little housekeeping items like keys or garage door openers? Are there other things that at the table that they might want to talk about? Or
Let me let Amy answer that to some degree, but I want to say one thing. A lot of people come to the closings and everybody's nervous. We think closings are fun. It should be, because look, the hard work that has been done, you've gone through your lender and all that underwriting process, you finally get to the closing table. And look, you're going to either get a check if you're a seller, or you're going to get a key if you're a buyer. And so we try to make our closings professional, but an exciting time for the parties, because you're glad to get some money or you're glad to get a key, and so it should be a happy time or fun time. So there's other things, but I wanted to mention that.
As far as just some housekeeping items, a seller would want to bring, that's where you can exchange keys, garage door openers, phone numbers in case you have questions, a buyer has questions about the house, and also whether or not they've changed over the utilities and who those utilities are if they haven't done so at that time.
Great. I thank you both very much for visiting with us and just sharing some of your knowledge today. And if you need a closing company, a professional company with expert service, call North Delta Title and call John Ray Realty, and we can help you through your closings. Thank you.